fire, put the sewage pipes and water pipes in there, and laid the street on top. So now the street is up there, going around every block. The sidewalk is still down here. All right, a good mental image for me to understand what's happening in Seattle at this time is to imagine looking down at the city from above, and it would have been like looking down at a giant waffle, right? This is the crunchy ridge, and right now we're swimming in a syrupy pocket, and if you like fruit in your waffle, even better, these buildings can be your waffle fruit. Kind of makes sense? So what happened, the city wanted the business owners to pay for the sidewalk, connecting their buildings to the street. The business owners didn't have a whole lot of money. They said, no, we're not going to pay. Seattle sued them. They sued the city right back. They got into a battle. For around 5 years, the sidewalk stayed down here, while the streets were up there. All right, so how do you think you cross the streets? Wow, yeah, that's actually what they did. In most places, they just went for the cheapest option and put up ladders at the corner of every city block. So if you wanted to cross the street, you'd have to climb up a ladder. These walls range from 8 to 35 feet in height. So imagine climbing a wall twice or almost 3 times this height. And especially for us ladies, because what were we wearing? Yeah, huge dresses, and we could have been with children or holding grocery bags. Although I'm sure some very helpful young men stood at the bottom of the ladder to hold it steady. Is the term Latter-day Saints? Is that it? No, okay. So, also, has anybody here ever tried to climb a ladder drunk? Yeah, so there were 17 death certificates given out during this time in Seattle from men who had left the bars late at night and stepped off the street expecting to step onto sidewalk, fell to their death. Under cause of death, the coroner wrote, involuntary suicide. Some twisted sense of humor there. And Bill Speidel also made a joke from that. He said, you know, if you were trying to quit drinking, you should have come to Seattle, because instead of a 12-step program, it's just a 1-step program. So imagine we're standing down here on the sidewalk right after the walls have gone back up. The horses and the wagons would be up here going by on the streets. Things sometimes fell out of the wagons and hit people down here in the head, or fell out of the horse and hit people down here in the head. There are people who died during this time from horses falling off the street and landing on top of it. You could have, in essence, died from a horse falling from the sky. This was a messy, crazy, really strange time in Seattle, and it goes on for around 5 years until the business owners in the city split the cost of the sidewalks. They begin by putting in I-beams. This is not the original, the one above it is, and we spray it with extra rust to fill you with confidence. It goes a foot into the building and a foot into the street. In between these I-beams, they built brick arches. They used the same design with the arches as the Romans did the aqueducts. So if we last as long, we'll be looking good. Where those wooden boards are in the middle of the arches, or that brown part, they put in a skylight there. There was one long skylight that went all the way down this sidewalk, and they put in skylights because they wanted to encourage people to come down here and use this space. It was still good retail space, and use the first floor businesses. Up there, they put on sidewalk, and then the second-story windows became the doorways. And down here, we have an indoor shopping mall. So as you walk around Pioneer Square, think about it. Every doorway you see was once a window. Any questions? All right. So a lot of the original skylights have been taken out or covered over, but there are a few originals left, and we will be standing underneath one in a moment. Also, the underground has survived 3 major earthquakes without any structural damage, so we're safe.
What year was this all completed?
So the sidewalks were finished at different times in different parts of Seattle. The richest parts got their sidewalks put in first, but it was all finished by the turn of the century, the late 1800s. It was all done probably by 1900. And I can show you guys some really cool pictures of what they were doing at the end of the tour. I have some pictures at the guide desk. So